On a cold Christmas morning, wrapped in ribbons, cinnamon, and lies, one man unwrapped the truth that would burn his entire world to the ground. What started as a family holiday turned into a brutal awakening.
A cruel joke.
A silent wife with too perfect makeup. And a shirt that read,
Top one loser in the world.
But the real punch wasn't in the shirt, it came in the form of laughter, and betrayal that had been brewing for years. You're watching Secret Affairs Stories, where we reveal the truths people hide behind smiles and wedding rings.
This is the story of Jason.
The man who raised 3 children that weren't his. The man who smiled through humiliation, until he didn't. Christmas morning arrived wrapped in the familiar warmth of tradition. Cinnamon rolls baking in the oven, pine needles crackling gently under slippers, the faint buzz of holiday music weaving through the air like old magic. Jason stood by the fireplace, cradling a mug of black coffee that had long since gone cold. Around him, the people he called family danced through their rituals. Unwrapping gifts with exaggerated glee, posing for photos, sipping cocoa laced with just enough Baileys to call it festive. But something didn't sit right. It wasn't just the holiday stress or the overcooked ham. It was Brittany. She looked too perfect. Not in the usual my wife always tries too hard kind of way. This was curated. Intentional. Like she had something to prove. Her makeup, flawless down to the last smudge of shadow under her eyes at 7 in the morning. Her phone, clutched like a lifeline, never left her hand. Not even once. She wasn't scrolling mindlessly or snapping photos of the kids. She was waiting.
For something.
Or someone. Jason told himself not to overthink it. He'd been away a lot lately, chasing deadlines and deals, trying to carve out a future that didn't feel like a tightrope walk. Maybe this was her way of reclaiming control.
Making the day spécial.
Reminding everyone, especially him, that she still had it all together. Then Haley entered. Brittany's younger sister. The family's self-appointed jester. Loud, brash, always armed with the kind of jokes that walked the line between edgy and downright cruel. She clapped her hands like a game show host and announced, "All right, I got everyone a little surprise." Jason blinked as she pulled out a stack of folded t-shirts. Everyone leaned in, laughing and guessing. "Jason, world's best uncle," she read aloud, tossing one to their cousin with a wink. "Karen, queen of sass."
Another round of giggles. Dad, barbecue master.
The old man practically puffed up with pride. Then came Jason's turn. Haley grinned. No, smirked. And threw him his shirt. It landed in his lap like a dare. The moment his fingers touched the fabric, he felt it. Wrong. Too stiff. Too heavy. Not just cotton.
Loaded.
He unfolded it slowly. In bold, blood-red letters, it screamed.
Top one loser in the world.
The room paused.
Fort abris.
Maybe less.
Long enough for reality to twist.
Then, the laughter came. Not the kind that lifts a room. Not the shared, inside joke sort. This was jagged. Mean. Designed to wound. He caught Brittany's eye, hoping. Begging. For a raised eyebrow. A quick apology. Even just a shrug that said, she went too far. But Brittany was doubled over. Tears rolling from the corners of her eyes, smudging her mascara. She was laughing like someone had just confessed the funniest secret in the world. Jason felt the breath leave his body. He stared at the shirt, wondering if he'd missed something. Some joke, some hidden meaning. Maybe a callback to a TV show he hadn't watched. Maybe the family was playing some twisted version of Roast the Dad. Then Haley twisted the knife. With that same wolfish grin she added, "I just feel so bad for my sister, having to share her husband with you while you're off on those work trips. I mean, at least now she knows what real pleasure feels like."
The docteur cut sharpé this time.
Someone whistled. Someone gasped. Jason's world tilted. He looked to Brittany. Her face unreadable now. But her lips curled just enough to let the poison out. "He's not that useless," she said, waving a hand dismissively. "He's great at cooking. And folding laundry." She sipped her wine, still holding her phone in the other hand. The glass was crystal. The wine, rose at 10 in the morning, was cold and pink and perfectly paired with her smirk. Jason didn't move. Not at first. The sounds of the room grew distant. Like someone had hit mute on a world he no longer belonged to. His ears rang. His palms sweat. He was holding the shirt in one hand, still. Like maybe, if he just kept holding it, none of this would be real. But it was. And deep down he knew. It always had been. The red flags? They weren't subtle. They never are. They were just drowned in the noise of love, of routine, of the desperate need to believe that what you've built is real and worth saving. He stood up slowly.
No shouting.
No grand gesture. Just a quiet walk toward the garage. Each step a lifetime. He didn't even slam the door.
Chapter 2, The Unraveling.
The garage was cold, but familiar.
Concrète floor.
The smell of oil and rust. Tools lined the wall with obsessive precision, order in a life that was starting to fall apart. Jason didn't bother turning on the light. He didn't need to see. He could navigate this space blind. He had, metaphorically, for years. He moved mechanically, grabbing his wrench, his pliers, the set of precision screwdrivers his father gave him on his wedding day.
Tools made to fix things.
And for years, Jason had believed he could fix anything. Faucets, broken fences, cracked walls, even relationships. But that morning, he wasn't going to fix a thing. He threw them into his old leather tool bag, the one with a busted zipper and a faded name tag. Then he walked out. Still no yelling. No door slamming.
Just à quelqu'un offending.
The kind that doesn't echo until much later. 3 hours later, Jason parked at the edge of a hiking trail. No signal. No people. Just wind and trees and silence. And the laughter, the fake cruel kind, still bouncing inside his skull. That night, when cell service returned, his phone lit up like fireworks. 223 missed calls and texts. Brittany. Haley. Friends. Even her mother. One stood out. Just 5 words. Please answer. It was a prank. A prank? Is that what betrayal was called now? Jason didn't reply. He drove to a 24-hour pharmacy, bought 3 DNA kits, and went home like a ghost. At midnight, the house was still. Brittany was either asleep or pretending to be. He kissed each child goodnight, Emma, Lucas, Ava, and took hair samples. He didn't sleep that night. He watched the moon slide across the sky like a silent witness.
Chapter 3, Confrontation and Clarity.
The results came 3 days later.
Ordinary envelope.
No drama. But it felt heavier than anything he'd ever held. In the garage, he opened them with trembling fingers.
1 envelope per child.
3 clinical, cold reports. Each with the same conclusion. Paternity not confirmed. He stared at the words until they blurred. Not one. Not a single child was his. His mind tried to reject it. These were his babies. The ones who clung to his leg at the door. The ones who cried for him at night. The ones he taught how to ride bikes and tied shoelaces for. But biology had spoken. And in that moment, something inside Jason didn't break, it crystallized. He made breakfast that morning like nothing had changed. Pancakes with blueberries. Whipped cream. Emma's favorite. He kissed their foreheads. Brittany strolled in wearing leggings and arrogance. Look at Superdad go, she teased, ruffling his hair like he was a pet. He smiled, eerily calm. Mind watching them for a bit later? I need to run an errand. Yeah, she muttered, already absorbed in her phone. That night, wine glasses clinked in the dining room. Jason poured for both of them. Brittany raised an eyebrow.
What est-ce occasion?
He slid the envelope across the table. Her smirk vanished. She read. 1. Then 2. Then all 3. Her face turned ash-white.
Where the hell did you get these? Jason leaned back.
The real question is, who are their fathers? She blinked. Laughed nervously.
You're being dramatic.
DNA tests can be wrong. 3 times? She slammed the papers down.
You're insane.
No, he said. I'm awake. Chapter 4, The Legal Battle. Jason didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He just called Angela Myers the next morning, a lawyer known for being ruthless in divorce court. He handed her a folder. DNA results.
Audio recording.
Messages. She flipped through. You've got a strong case. But it won't be easy.
Cour favor modère.
Jason nodded. I want custody. I want them safe. Angela studied him. Even though they're not yours? They're mine where it counts. When Brittany was served, her smugness cracked. At first, she laughed.
You think a judge will believe your sob story?
Jason didn't flinch.
I don't need a story. I veut good proof.
Her smile evaporated. Rage replaced it. You're not their real dad, she spat. No, he said, calm as steel. I'm the man who raised them. And that's more than you can say about their biological fathers. The trial wasn't quick. But it was decisive. The judge reviewed everything: DNA testimonies, recordings of Brittany joking about Jason behind his back. When the gavel fell, Jason had shared custody. Brittany had court-ordered counseling. And supervised visitation.
Chapter 5, a new beginning.
Jason moved out the next day. Took only the essentials. Clothes. Tools. A few photo albums. He stayed with his buddy Tyler, a man who asked no questions unless you were ready to answer. That night, they sat on a porch under a sky full of stars, passing a bottle between them.
You good, man?
Tyler asked. Jason took a long swig. No. But I will be. Angela called the next afternoon. There's more. She sent him photos from a private investigator. Hotel receipts. And one picture.
Brittany. Kissing Galet Susban.
Jason stared at it until it didn't hurt anymore. Then he did something radical. He sent the photo to Haley. She called.
Voice shaking.
Is this real? I'm sorry, he said. But you deserved the truth. She whispered, thank you. Chapter 6, Closure. At the final custody hearing, Brittany arrived late, dressed like she was heading to brunch. Jason wore the navy suit she once gave him, the same one he nearly threw away 100 times. He wore it like armor. Her lawyer pleaded emotion. Talked about bonds and forgiveness. The judge cut her off.
Miss Rivers, I veux aussi the evidence.
Let's not waste time. Jason didn't look at Brittany. He didn't need to. After the ruling, she tried one last time. Jason, please, we can fix this.
No more lies.
No more games, he said. But I love you. Jason smiled sadly.
You don't know what love is. You loved control.
He turned and walked away. Jason, she shouted. He didn't stop. That chapter was closed. Forever. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't show up with slammed doors or screaming fights. Sometimes, it arrives wrapped in wrapping paper, hidden behind smiles, and served with breakfast on Christmas morning. Jason didn't lose everything.
He lost the illusion.
But in the ruins of trust, he found something stronger. Clarity.
Courage.
Closure. He walked away not just from a marriage, but from the role of a man being played for a fool. Because when the truth comes out, it doesn't just burn bridges.
It lights the path forward.
You've just watched another true emotional storm, here on Secret Affairs Stories, where every secret has a heartbeat, and every silence tells a story. Subscribe for more stories that cut deep. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Jason? Until next time, trust carefully.